Today we're working on a 1995 Toyota Camry. It's a 2.2 liter engine, inline 4 LE. I've seen some videos online about where to find the charcoal canister and the valve that lets the air out. And in this car, it's right there. In this car, it's that right there. Okay. I've removed the air ducting that goes here to get a better view and be able to get to it a lot easier. And right on top, this is the valve. This is actually the valve. On the bottom, it's got 2 outlets, but I'll show that a little better later. On all the other videos that I found of Toyota Camrys, especially in later years, but also in videos that I found on earlier models like this one, they keep saying that the charcoal canister is above this axle thing. In this car, it's not true. So I was having a lot of trouble figuring this out because most cars have the charcoal most Toyota Camrys have the charcoal canister right up there. And the gas tank has a vent on the very top that pokes up, it comes back, and it goes right up into the charcoal canister, and it has the valve that allows the gas out. On this car, that tube, which you can see is disconnected back there right now, that tube goes around the side of the gas tank all the way up through the front, and then you can see that right there is like this plastic paneling that's sitting on there. Well, that's holding the tube down. It's one of those 4 tubes that's entering there, and it goes all the way to the front, it goes over there, it goes forward some more, and then it goes up into the charcoal canister that I just showed you up front. See, and here's the amount of pressure in here. You hear there was quite a bit in there. So that's what we're trying to fix. Okay, so you can see our gas tank here. This is the orientation for the front of the car and the back of the car. This is where our gas goes in. Our gasoline goes in here. This is a vent up to the holes, which is why we can hear the pressure release when we open up the gas tank from the top. This is where our gas pump goes. Our gas pump sits inside here with its filters on it and everything. This is the gas vent. And these are just some clip positions. And now I'm going to flip it over to take a look at the bottom and show you what the bottom's all about. Well, what's happening is because there's a pressure buildup inside the tank, for whatever reason, it is pushing out on the bottom. And I read that this is a spot that generally gets affected by the pressure buildup when it gets to be too much. So anyways, this pushed out once before, and it created this crack. And then I beat it back in with a hammer, put the tank back in, sealed it up with this wonderful sealer, which actually worked very well. And it held in that crack great. The problem was that the pressure problem was not discovered until later, and so this tank actually got pushed back out again. So you can see it's not flat anymore, it's got this nice big ridge, and that created a crack, a hairline crack in the material that the gas could then escape from again. So the problem with the pressure buildup needs to be fixed. Otherwise this will continue happening, and it will happen to the brand new tank that is now in there as well. All right, so that line up there goes directly to the top of the gas tank, and I could have opened it up even further down the line, but I decided to open it up here. I'm trying to track the tube to see if there's a blockage in the line somewhere that's causing this problem where the gas is building up. It's now venting out all the fumes with the gas cap closed. So I can tell that there's no blockage from there to the tank. And this is the port that vents the gases into the charcoal canister. It comes across the back here, runs through a clip here and a clip here, and then it goes this way, and this is where I disconnected it for the first test. And then the tube runs along here and then down and to the front of the car. So you see I could have disconnected it here if I reached in under the seat, because that's how you access this. If I reached in under the seat and came over here and took the little clip off and popped the thing off. In the engine bay, I've gone ahead and disconnected that tube there. So if there's a blockage in the line leading to the charcoal canister, this will tell me. So when you're going to take tubes off like this, be wary that they can break pretty easily, and not to just pull on them and yank on them. They actually need to be twisted first. It'll break the seal and make it a lot easier to pull it off. They've also got these clips. Make sure that you completely clear the tube. You can see that this has quite a bit of length, more than you would think. So get that totally clear from the metal part before you go ahead and try even twisting it. Sometimes you can get a tool involved, but make sure you don't pinch it wrong and cause a dent, and then you have to replace the tube, because these are kind of hard to come by sometimes. Okay, went on pretty easy. And then try to get this back into the exact alignment that it originally sat in. It's hard for me to see, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, but you should try to get this to sit exactly, oh, there it is. That's exactly how it was before I touched it. And that'll just give the best grab possible. So now I'll go ahead and close the gas cap back up. And we'll check on it in a half hour, see if it built a lot of pressure up. The gas tank did not have any pressure in it while this was disconnected. So I went ahead and reconnected it, and we're just going to make sure that it builds up pressure while everything is closed. Okay, so I've taken both of the top valves off, the top tubes off, and I've turned this a bit. I also took off both of the bottom tubes, which were here, but like I said, I've turned it clockwise about 90 degrees. And then I loosened up one of the bolts that holds one of the bracket bolts here. I loosened up that guy, took him out, and then I loosened up the one in the middle here that connects these two halves of the bracket together. Yeah, let me see if I can just pull that out. Let's see. Maybe I can just get it straight out. That worked. All right. And here we've got our charcoal canister. So I've got a service manual for this, and it's telling me that this is port A and this is port B, and these are unlabeled, but they're other ports. Basically, I'm supposed to get a plastic straw, put it over this guy, and blow into it with my mouth, not too hard. It wants 0.43 psi. It's basically nothing. And if I blow in there, I should be able to feel air coming out here and from those two. If I don't feel air coming out from all three of them, then I'm supposed to hook up my air compressor to shoot 43 psi. 100 times as much. 43 psi to blow into here while covering B. So like plugging it with my finger, and it'll clean out the quote-unquote filter, which I'm assuming is this part on the bottom here. Probably has a filter in it. So unlike a normal, see, normally you've got the charcoal canister, and then you have a purge valve, which is where this runs to. The B port runs into the engine area, and it involves the EGR or something, and the purge valve decides if some of the gas fumes are going to go back into the engine. Meanwhile, the other option is called the vent valve. This, however, does not have a vent valve as far as I can tell. This, for some reason, this car does not have one. And this is basically the vent valve down here. But it's not sold separately anywhere, so it's all just kind of built in. Anyways, it says it's got a filter inside of it. I could probably open this and clean it up, but I'm gonna do what the manual says and just blow air in there. Let me try and get that on camera. You can see that because it's now smaller, it can just fit in there. I put my thumb over this little spot right there, that little point, pushed it in slightly so that it holds vacuum better. And then I blew, and it was really hard to blow, and it did nothing here, here, or here. I got no pressure in any of them. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get the air hose and set it to 43 PSI and push it right up against this and try blasting out these, pushing on port B, obviously, to keep it closed. I'm gonna try blasting it out to blow air through there. I tried blowing air in here, and it didn't come out anywhere. I tried blowing air in here, and it didn't come out anywhere. So, you're never supposed to put water in one of these. If it's not dried out, it's gonna mess the whole evap system up. And washing charcoal out of these is not a good idea. You want all the charcoal in here. But because the price of the new one is $750 for this vehicle, that's a bit astronomical, and the client's probably going to have to give up the car. So I went ahead and decided to try this for them. So what I have here is a hose, and I've got a little nozzle set up on it, which sprays a pretty steady stream. And I've turned down the water pressure of this guy quite a bit on the hose, so that it's not blasting like crazy. Anyways, I've been working on this already, and I want to tell you that at first, I put it in here, and nothing happened. I put it in the A port, nothing happened. B port, nothing happened. Then I tried putting it down in these, and it would shoot out the B port. It was just shooting out constantly. Then I would put it in the A port, and it started dripping from the B port. Now it never shot out, but it was dripping, dripping, dripping. And at some point while I was doing this, I felt a click, a plunk. I felt some kind of pop inside the thing where the clog finally came undone. And because of that, now when I put this on here, which mind you, it was building a lot of pressure inside, but it was never going anywhere. You can see out the bottom one that it's starting to run down there. Well, I'm going to hold it, oh, there, it coming out of the top one too. And once this fills up fully with water, it actually is now starting to come out the B port. I had to switch back and forth between rinsing out the A port and rinsing out of either one of these and shooting it out the B port, going back into the A port. Eventually what I did, I covered up both of these, one with my leg and one with my toe. I held this on real tight to the A port, and it started shooting out the B port. Now I'm going to see if I can show you that. There, you see? There's a nice trail coming out of that port there. So this thing was way too clogged to ever come back. Now this might still be broken, so I've picked another one from the junkyard already, and I'm just going to do a better job of cleaning that one if this doesn't work out. But I saw someone online tried to do this. They took the canister, they filled it up with water, they dried it out, and it worked okay. But I saw a lot of debate on whether or not that was good long term. So wouldn't recommend it, but on a junker like this one, we're going to try it out, and we're going to see if this works out. I wouldn't do this without the consent of the car owner. This is just the only available option. I mean, the client doesn't have $750 for a new part, so it's either this or the car is just gone. All right, so now we're gonna blow it out with air, and I've already been blowing it out with air a bit. I've been putting the air into the A port and covering the B port here because you don't want to blow the B port out. Anyways, I've been doing this quite a bit, and there's water all over the floor now. But I thought I would get a little bit of it on camera. So I just got one drop of water out there. Once I get most of this water out of here, I'm going to go ahead and let it air dry for the day in this position so that it can drip out as it needs to. But this is definitely a necessary step of blowing this thing out if you got water in it. So I decided that for the purpose of drying this thing out, it's best for me to just remove this guy. All right, so I propped it up a little bit. I left a little bit of a space underneath of it for the water to freely drain out, for air to come in and out easily, and I put some paper towels down just to keep everything dry. But this is pretty much dry already. It's not fully dry. It needs at least a day, probably 2 days, and when it's all done with that, then we'll test it out in the vehicle and see if it's working. All right, now we've given it some time to build pressure. Let's check it one more time here. After a whole day, we have no pressure. Perfect. We're done.